If you asked me 8 months ago how high I think Bitcoin will go this cycle, I would have given you a much different answer than right now, because so much has changed in terms of price action and fundamentals. As we're nearing the end of 2021, there's one huge question lingering on my mind, and that is, how high will Bitcoin go before we finally enter a bear market? Well, I predict that we'll see $150,000 per Bitcoin in the next 6 months. But if you're curious as to why I chose that number, how I think we'll get there, and the single event that could cause Bitcoin to rocket way past my prediction, then this video is for you. Strap in, my friend, and let's roll the intro. Before I defend my 150K price prediction, we gotta rewind a bit, because 2021 has been such a roller coaster ride for Bitcoin. Early this year, things were great, and we were on an undeniable bull run, and it seemed like Bitcoin was setting a new all-time high every day. But then the summer came, and we had that huge Elon plus China crash that cut the price in half. If you remember back then, things were quite scary. So many people were shouting from the rooftops, "Sell all your coins, the bear market is officially here." I was stubborn though, because I refused to believe what they were saying. In fact, I made this video with my strongest case as for why the bull market was not over. Turns out I was right, because after consolidating for a while, Bitcoin started to rocket once again to the news and eventual approval of a Bitcoin ETF, setting a new all-time high in the process. That pretty much brings us to present day. But in the last few weeks, something was really bugging me. I was thinking, man, I gotta update my price prediction, because so much has changed since my last one. And I haven't had the chance to sit and think deeply about this important topic. But before I started my own analysis, I was super curious about what everyone else thought. So I made a few polls on Facebook, YouTube, and Telegram, asking people what they think the peak price would be. And I'll just share the results right here. You see that the top vote getting choice was the 80K to 120K range by far, and the rest of the votes fell on a bell curve per se. Now I know this poll was not super scientific by any stretch, but we did get around 1,500 votes in total, so I think it's definitely interesting to look at. And there's two things in particular that stood out to me. First is, wow, our sentiment changed so much compared to earlier this year. I did a similar poll back in Q1 of 2021, and most of us were much more bullish for the potential peak price during this cycle. Second is that retail investors like you and I are usually wrong, and the market likes to move in ways that causes maximum pain for us. But here's the thing, our poll results could still come true, even though that's what we're all expecting right now. Let's say the market takes us on yet another roller coaster ride, which causes everyone to change their mind, and then the price ends up where we originally predicted after all. That way, both our current predictions and max pain theory could both be right at the same time. But anyways, enough about those polls. Let's break down my prediction of 150K Bitcoin before mid-2022. Well, first, I want to make the case that Bitcoin has room to run. If you look at all the popular on-chain metrics out there, none of them are really screaming overheated yet. Will Clemente actually wrote a great thread about this that I'll link you down below. He looks at supply shock, MVRV score, reserve risk, and many other on-chain metrics, all of which point to Bitcoin having room to run. And then there's the way we recovered from the May crash, because I think that Bitcoin's price action has been pretty healthy since that huge crash. We consolidated for a good 2 months at the 30K range before starting to grind back up. If the recovery was more abrupt, then I would probably choose a lower number instead of 150K. And finally, there's the Bitcoin ETFs that were approved sooner than many of us expected. Those brought more excitement and legitimacy for our entire space, both of which gives us more fuel to push the price higher. If you think about it, my 150K target isn't that crazy. That's a little bit less than 3x from where we are right now, and it's exactly 50x from the previous bear market low of $3,000. That 50x from bottom to top would also be less gains compared to previous cycles, thus feeding into the whole diminishing returns and lengthening cycles theory. But also, if you look at some other popular models like Willy Woo's top cap model or David Poile's delta valuation model, those currently predict a peak price of $204,000 and $114,000 respectively. My target sits pretty much in the middle of their models, which makes makes me feel pretty good since I didn't even see their numbers until after I made my own prediction. On the flip side, I don't think we'll go much higher than 150K because Bitcoin isn't some super niche thing anymore. I think it'll take more profound changes in order for us to go past my current target. Like we'll need more institutions, corporations, and nation states getting in, not just MicroStrategy and El Salvador stacking their sats. Well, anyways, those are all my points as to why I chose 150K. Now let's chat about the how we get there. But first, a quick shout out to our sponsors for this video, Coinme. They are the largest cash to crypto exchange with thousands of locations across the United States. And to celebrate their rapid growth, they are doing a weekly sweepstakes with one lucky person winning $1,000 in Bitcoin. This is happening through December 26th, and all you have to do is visit the link down below and fill out your info. Best part is you can enter every week after Sunday night and also earn additional entries by referring friends, following their social media, and things like that. Check out my link down below if you're curious. So I said 150K by mid-2022, but I don't think it'll be a straight line there. There will definitely be twists and turns as we've seen so many times in the past. Like I think there will be large sell-offs near 80K and definitely 100K, as those are nice round numbers that so many retail investors are targeting for profit taking. That will cause Bitcoin to pull back hard, and some people will panic sell thinking that it's all over. But then it will climb back up again and go higher and higher, which makes retail investors FOMO back in before we finally reach the actual top. This price action would definitely cause pain for a lot of retail investors, as you can imagine. I also don't think we'll see quite as crazy of a blow off top as we did the last few cycles, but I think we'll still experience a ton of volatility, like $10,000 swings in a single day. So strap in, my friend, because Bitcoin is about to take us on a roller coaster ride. Now, if you were to ask me how confident I am about my prediction, I'd say 80%, which is pretty confident in my book. But I also got to point out 3 potential circumstances that could keep this from coming true. The first is if the SEC starts cracking down, either by labeling token securities or by severely hindering stablecoins, both of which Gary Gensler has hinted at many times in the past few months. If he executes on either of those, I think we could see a pretty large correction for all of crypto. The second is if the Federal Reserve starts pulling back sooner than expected, like if they decide to taper their purchases of securities/bonds, or if they decide to raise interest rates because inflation is getting too high. Either of those would cause a stock market crash, and since Bitcoin is considered a risky asset, I think it would crash hard as well. And finally, the third potential hurdle is some foreign government banning Bitcoin or severely restricting it. China already did this, so we don't have to worry about them. But if India or perhaps some Western country decided to make that move, I think it would throw us off course once again. Anyways, those are my 3 potential roadblocks we gotta look out for, but honestly, I don't think those are likely to happen. Maybe there's a 10% chance for any of them to come true. On the other hand, there is one thing that would cause me to raise my price target, and that is if we get a spot ETF approved. Because right now it's only been futures ETFs. If we were to get a spot-based one in the next few months, I would raise my price target all the way up to 250K as my peak price prediction. Why is that the case? Well, because those funds would have to buy and hold Bitcoin if investors flooded in. And that would be a new source of structural demand that we did not have before. That's the kind of fundamental change that I was mentioning earlier, which I think can really take us much higher, and perhaps even kick us off a traditional 4-year cycle and into a new paradigm, like the much talked about super cycle. By the way, I'm really curious to hear what you think will be the price of Bitcoin at its peak for this cycle. Please leave a comment down below so we can all compare notes. Also, if you're curious to learn more about the supercycle theory, definitely watch my video right here, or watch this one if you want to learn why this may be the end of 4-year cycles for Bitcoin. Anyways, I'm Kevin from Coinsider. I can't wait to see you in the next one, and cheers!